Welcome to class today, and we're going to be focusing on flexibility of the hamstrings. So really, if you're going to be stretching of hamstrings, ideally you also want to be stretching. If you're going to be stretching the hamstrings, you want to be stretching the hips as well, because sometimes the hip flexors can cause the pelvis to come into a position where it makes the hamstrings feel tight. Then a lot of people go, oh, I really need to stretch the hamstrings, when in fact they're just exacerbating the problem. So today's going to be a hamstring stretching class. So just be mindful that maybe lie on your front for a few minutes as well, like in a Sphinx position. That will be ideal. But anyhow, you may need a band. You can use a towel or a belt as well, entirely whatever you have available. If you're sure you have something like that, but if you don't, then you don't need. You can just hold the back of your leg. So we'll come on to our backs. I have a little cushion under my head, because this mat hasn't got much cushioning, and I'm a princess. But sometimes, depending on the shape of your neck and your shoulders, you might need to put a little bit of support there. Otherwise, for some people, it feels like you're in that kind of shape. So you want to make sure that it feels nice around your neck. Just make sure the chin is pulled down. So I'll start with the right leg. So I'm going to pop the right foot into the band and have it so that it's over the ball arch part of the foot. Okay, so we've got a little bit of the ball there, but your toes are loose. Now, if you know that you're super tight around the legs, hips, maybe the lower back, you can keep this left leg slightly bent. It will just give you a little bit of space. Otherwise, if you can, see if you can straighten that left leg, and you should feel there's a little bit of a difference between that one and that one. So while we don't want things to be comfortable, we also don't want to be struggling so much that you're not going to get anything out of this. So having that leg a little bit bent, it just tilts the pelvis and appears to give you gives you the illusion that it gives you more hamstring length. It doesn't really. It's just you're getting the length from somewhere else. But otherwise have the leg straight. So in an ideal world, we want to have this knee nice and straight. So I want you to send the leg away, engage the kneecap, and then pull the leg towards you. So this is about as much hamstring stretch as most people need. You know, some people are so fixated, they want to get the head all the way over there. Unless you're in a dancer or anything like that, you really don't need more flexibility than what this leg is. And this is actually not my best leg. So I want you to flex your foot. So curl the toes towards the face, and I'm going to use the band to just gently encourage that. Now, if you've had a hip replacement, rather than pulling your hands down in line with that, I want you to think of pulling your hands slightly towards this side, okay? But it's not a hard pull. It's just this gentle, oh, yes, I can feel it now, okay? The more you can flex the foot, hopefully you can feel it more in the back of the leg there, okay? So in that, so the more you flex, the more it's going to get into that part. The more you engage your kneecap, the more it's going to get into this part. So when we activate the muscles in the front of the leg, the brain will send signals to the back of your leg, and I'm going to use the term stretch, but it's not technically, it's lengthen. The brain's got to allow those hamstrings to give, to get longer, so that you can make the front muscles shorter, you can contract them, okay? So this is how we can almost trick the body to a stretch. So just engage in these front muscles, and then the brain, but it's weird because it doesn't actually feel like it. It's like, oh, that feels even more horrible. So take a breath, and then exhale. Can you go a little deeper? Now, often I get people might say, I'm trying to do the splits, but I just can't get into the splits because my calves are too tight. or that they're just not getting that hamstring flexibility. So this part of the calf works with the hamstring. So if you're trying to get into the splits or anything like that, you really do need to focus on stretching off these calves, because they will aid that position that you're going to be in the splits. So don't forget to stretch off those calves as well, if that's something that floats your boat. And then gently release, bend your knee, and just give it a little shake. I'm one of these people, I'll work to a position or a pose. Once I've done it, I find another one. I'm not fixated on doing it for the rest of my life. It's more of a little challenge for myself. So let's switch legs. Again, if you need to have that leg slightly bent, that's fine, or take it down here. And you may already notice, oh, this side feels harder, or this side feels easier. And I want you to just acknowledge it, okay? Don't overthink it. It is completely normal to have one side easier, one side more challenging. Most people have this because we do all sorts of funny things in our real lives. Now, don't forget to flex that foot and just give this band a little tiny tug, if you want to call it that. I kind of just let my arms, the weight of my arms hold it. Keeping that knee straight. And I want to talk about locking out, because this is such a big myth within, don't lock your knees, it's bad for you. It's bad for you to throw your leg into a locked position. So think of football players when they kick the ball. And it's also not very good for people that are hypermobile. So when my leg is like a ruler, it's a straight line. Hypermobile people, their knee comes out the other, pushes that way. So for those kinds of people, it's not good for them to lock the leg out either. But for any person that hasn't got any knee hypermobility, and you're not throwing your leg out into a locked position, locking the knee out and using your muscles is actually very good, because it helps you strengthen the knee. And some of the hamstring muscles at the back of the leg only work when the knee is completely straight. So we do need to have the knee in the straightened position. But here we are doing it with control. We're doing it slowly. We're doing it mindfully. We're not just throwing the body around. So can you flex a little more? Can you feel that in the back of the calf? And if you've watched my videos before, you also know that hamstring stretching is not my forte. It's not. My hamstrings are quite tight. I've got long adductors, but hamstrings are tight. And you'll feel this discomfort starts to ease, and then maybe you can take it a little bit further. So my left side is my more flexible side. If your left leg is your more challenging side, it won't go as far as the right one. So you don't want to push it and force it and then end up pulling your muscles, okay? When we stretch, we are just after increasing the length of the muscles. You're not after dislocating your hip and snapping your muscles and tendons. So bend your knee and then take that off and just give your knees a little hug, maybe a little rock from side to side. So we'll come into seated position. And we're going to do, it's actually a reformer exercise of Joseph Pilates. So maybe you've seen those funny machines that he uses. It's actually done on the reformer, but it translates lovely onto the mat as well. So if you feel that when you're in this position, if you can actually do this against a wall, you will get more out of it. Or you can just pretend there's a wall behind you. So in an ideal world, you would want to be able to sit up nice and tall with the head back and the legs straight. But for many people, they'll be in that kind of shape. And that could be the back is really tight. It could be the hip flexors in the front of the hips. All sorts of things can cause it. So if you find that this is you, just pop a cushion under your bum so that it lifts your hips, and that will give you some space as well. If you do have a cushion under your bum, and there's any sensitivity behind the knees, just pop a little towel behind the knees. And also, if you are hypermobile, remember we spoke about the leg bending the other way, you can pop a little towel behind the knees as well, just to stop that excessive extension in the leg. So let's start. Now, I will admit this is not one of my favorites, but after you've done a few, hopefully you're going to feel the tissues start to give in the body. And at that point, I'm like, oh yes, now this is feeling good. So have the hands next to the body and just have a shoulder roll. So bring your shoulders forward, take them up to your ears, and then squeeze them down the back. And as you squeeze them down the back, I want you to think of lengthening the spine up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in. Now drop the chin to the throat, but keep the shoulders going back and down. Sweep your hands towards your feet. And you might notice for me here, my hands get up to, let's say, the end of the trousers. Hug the tummy in, keep the chin tucked in, and then bring yourself back up again as you take a breath in. Exhale, drop the chin to the chest, reach the hands forward. Now notice, how far can you go? Did you go a little further? Keep your toes curled up. It's going to keep those knees active. Chin stays tucked in. Really be aware of all the sensations you can feel in your body and down the back. And then bring yourself back up again. So Pilates, if it's taught properly, is a very mindful practice. Joseph Pilates was all about the body, the mind. Because if you're really paying attention to everything that's going on in your body, you notice these things and you won't even be thinking about what's going on outside. So perhaps you notice that you're getting a little bit stuck in certain parts of the movement. So again, for me, it comes down to everything on the right side of the body. Bringing yourself back up again. Maybe you can't tell if it's the left or the right. Is it your back that's very tight, stopping you moving more forward? Or is it the back of the legs that's really tight and stopping you moving forward? We're just going to keep going. Let's do a few more. So inhale as you come up. Now your brain's going to keep that chin down to make the movement quick and easy. So keep that chin up. Keep the chin tucked in. So imagine your forehead's trying to go towards the knees. 2 more. The last one we're going to hold. And exhale down. Hold it there. Take a breath into your back. And exhale a little deeper. Can you feel the calves, perhaps? And then bring yourself back up again. And release. Good. So just give your legs a little shake. So if you notice there was one side in particular that was quite tight and you wanted to work a little bit more into that side. So let's say, for example, mine is my right side. I think that's got to do with a foot injury that it's just caused chaos in the body. You can have your left leg bent, or you can just take the left leg out to the side there and then just do a few more towards the right side, just to try and get into those tissues on the right-hand side. So you can then work that little imbalance. So remember, we're trying to correct these imbalances that we have in the body. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not possible, but we can always try and make it a little bit better. So I hope you enjoyed a little hamstring stretch class. I always find when you work the hamstrings or stretch the hamstrings, it does get a little bit of the back as well. So I do find this quite juicy. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the mat soon. Take care.